The dad.
Rock and roll!
Well, judging from the carving on your desk, it looks like his name is Ozzy.
Yes, and apparently he rules.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
So, apparently GQ, which is a paragon of all great Star Wars leaks, posted a list of Star Wars projects that are happening, projects that are in development, projects that are dead. And lo and behold, we get a surprise. Simon Kinberg has a Star Wars trilogy post episode 9. Look, Cameron coined the phrase, the Charmin squeeze. This is exactly the same shit that Charmin Chinoy did and pulled with the fake Rey movie. Then this is not happening. I would say this is up there with Rian Johnson's Dead trilogy. Remember? It was Kennedy that announced it. There was no official anything with that. Right? And they talked about it, but they weren't going to do it. So get Simon Kinberg. First off, I want to ask him, do you know how bad the sequels were received by the fans? He probably doesn't know, because he probably is not a Star Wars fan to begin with. He's not a person that's interested in what the audience relates to or wants. And honest to God, I mean, I really think the only person in Hollywood that can understand why the fans are pissed off the way they are is Jon Favreau, because he's a fan. And you know, it's going to be very interesting this next year with this rumor out there that, and this is a rumor, this isn't a fact, right? I mean, the whole article in GQ is just gobbledygook, right? It's just argle, gargle, google, goop. You know, the only things we know for sure that they made is Mando and Grogu, Starfighter, Ahsoka Season 2, and Darth Maul Shadow Lord. Now, there is a story that there's a writer's room being worked now for a streaming show. So who knows what that is. Of course, here we have the standalone Rey film, which was never going to happen. You know, here's the deal. If you're the Walt Disney Company and you've got a script about hunting for Ben Solo, a very hated character in the Star Wars community, they've got everything they need. The director shows up with the lead actor, and you are Alan Bergman. You show them the books about how badly the sequel trilogy did, and thereby you kill this shitty movie before it's even, you know, started filming. Because The Hunt for Ben Solo, again, shows a cognitive disorder, should I say a cognitive dissonance. And I would think Adam Driver would be very aware of that. Same thing with the Rey movie. There's a cognitive dissonance in Hollywood because they're not connected to the fan base. And it's easier for them to attack the fans, calling us ludicrous names, etc., than it is for them to go, okay, this failed because the writing was terrible, terrible casting, the messaging was not needed. It's Star Wars. It's not a political diatribe. Right? And the fans didn't like it. The sequel trilogy failed on a lot of levels. And no, again, I'm going to say this again. It did not make the money that the Blue Pills and the Raylos think it did. I mean, look, you can look at box office and go, wow, $2 billion. But then you find out that there were problems on the set, and Disney does not want those problems to ever become public, okay? But let's talk more about this film after the video I got up.
Dad, when are you going to stop blighting the environment with this atrocity? My God, can't you see that it wants to die? Let it go.
Somebody blows their nose and you want to keep it?
I'd like to analyze it.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
I don't have it with me. Tell Jabba. Even I get bored sometimes. Do you think I had a choice? Over my dead body. Yes, I bet you have. Sorry about the mess.
The thing about these constant stories that yada 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 has a Star Wars trilogy or a movie is that they draw the fans in and then nothing happens. It hurts the franchise, in my opinion, and I honestly don't think that these people understand. Again, like I said, it's cognitive dissonance. They're so disconnected from reality. And they think if they say something, it will magically happen. Like the Taika Waititi movie. Kathleen Kennedy was all over it. It's never going to happen. There are directors that are appropriate for Star Wars, and there are directors that you want to keep far away, and he's one of those you want to keep far away, right? I mean, if you want a safe Star Wars movie, you hire Ron Howard. If you want one that's hits every beat the right way, you hire Peter Jackson. Or Ridley Scott or somebody who's done fantasy action stuff and done it well, right? The idea that Benioff and Weiss were going to get a Star Wars trilogy, they wanted them to have it. And at the time they were given it, everybody thought Game of Thrones was great. And then the terrible ending happened. Kennedy always had a very obvious track record in hiring inappropriate people to direct or write a movie. John Kasdan, for instance, that was a Nepo baby thing. Lord and Miller for Solo with John Kasdan. That was a toxic chemical moment of bullshit. She paid no attention, right? There's not going to be a Rey movie. Let's talk about the Rian Johnson trilogy, right? That was announced before anybody saw even 1 minute of The Last Jedi. So we were all like, oh, he must have done a really good job. And then when we all walked out, we were like, what the fuck did I just see? Right? I mean, when you are so either in the red, which Lucasfilm is, that you can't do a Kevin Feige movie. Not that we want him to do a Star Wars movie, because he's a mediocrity. And Marvel may be big in action and all this shit going on, but Marvel is cotton candy. Star Wars is not. Never has been. And the idea that just because he did Marvel and, everybody assumed it was all him that did the job that made Marvel such a big success. No, it wasn't. It was everybody else but him. All right? And when everybody else left, there you go. So, first off, let's go back to The Hunt for Ben Solo. Steven Soderbergh and Adam the Schnoz Driver are brought in, shown the actual books about the sequel trilogy, and The Hunt for Ben Solo is dead. Now, with the success of Mando and Grogu, and the fact that nothing that I have seen in that movie, in any of the shows, except for maybe Project Necromancer, but then you've got Anakin Skywalker in the world between worlds, and not acting like a Force ghost there, by the way, but the father. Why would the sequel trilogy turn out to be the way it did? Right? The people who say all roads lead to the sequels need the sequels to be there to make money. And they're not literate in watching movies. None of them are. They can sit there and say, I've seen this movie and that movie. I don't care. You're not a literate film viewer, okay? If you can't see what everybody else is seeing, and if you can't read between the lines. These two have to fix what was broken. And the script they used for Mando and Grogu was safe. It was decent. The other, it didn't have the real hook, the emotional hook that, other movies might have. But that's not the safe thing to do when you're dealing with a franchise that is in bad shape, right? And, there was another script for Mando and Grogu. I know somebody who read it, and it was unsafe. I think it was probably the better script, but the fact of the matter is, I'm going to be honest, you could have George Lucas come in with the script treatment, Jon Favreau directs it, and Ryan Cannell, Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic, and the rest of the garbage, WDW Pro, who apparently unveiled his fat face, would shit on it. Because the only reason why they've got any cachet is because they're really good in delivering the dopamine hit that people who are perpetually angry need. Right? Now, as someone who is a huge Star Wars fan and who doesn't really care for the illiterate way these big YouTube channels go about watching films, I have to say that they're just as bad for the franchise as the blue pills are. Period. Saying, this mantra, if you say it enough, it's true. All roads lead to the sequel trilogy. Like I said before, not true. And then you gotta wonder, didn't they watch Ahsoka? Probably not. Period. But again, I didn't say this, Steven Soderbergh said that. He saw the books from the sequel trilogy. Bergman and Iger showed him. There's no fucking way they were going to foot the bill for something like this. Nor were they going to let Disney be part, or Lucasfilm be part of something like The Hunt for Ben Solo, because of how bad it would be received. You want to see a movie that's going to lose money? It's that. I know Raylo's thing, ugly ass, puts butts in seats. No, he doesn't. Adam Driver is not a movie star. He doesn't carry himself like one. He sure as fuck doesn't look like one. And he's overrated. And to be honest, the audience didn't care for him. We weren't drawn into the bullshit. Right? So, these guys don't owe Kinberg or Chinoy or Johnson or any of these sad sacks anything, right? There's not going to be a Kinberg trilogy after episode 9. There isn't. It would look, in my opinion, Disney could stop the bullshit immediately by putting a press release saying we're not doing a trilogy with Simon Kinberg. And I would do that. If I was Lucasfilm and I ran it, I would do that. Just to shut everybody up. But again, the whole fake, the sequels did really well, and then you find out, no, they didn't. But still trying to keep that idea out there that they did is such bullshit. Everybody knows they didn't. And everybody knows who's got a brain. Everybody knows that they're not going to make the Kinberg trilogy. They're not going to make the Ray movie. They're not going to make Rian Johnson's trilogy is dead. The Ray movie is as dead as The Hunt for Daddy Killer, right? But again, you've got a bunch of people who need to be addressed saying otherwise and smearing everything good that you're doing, right? And I'm looking right at the black pills going, will you guys just shut the fuck up about this? You sit there and say you don't go to Star Wars movies, and why the fuck are you talking about it? If you're not a fan, don't talk about it, right? Talk about your, cotton candy Marvel bullshit, okay? There is no Kinberg trilogy. And in fact, I'm going to leave you guys with this. To me, it looks like Kathleen Kennedy is still weaving and bobbing around in the background, trying to save her precious Rey and her very tarnished legacy. This is Steph signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.